Well, for more on the Honduras election, I talked with Dr. Mark Weisbrot, co-director of the Center for Economic Policy Research in Washington, D.C. He also writes a column that focuses on economic and policy issues. I began by asking him to outline the major issues that face the country in this election.
Well, I think the economy is a huge issue. There was a poll showing that 80% of the people thought that they were worse off than they were 4 years ago. It was kind of like, the Ronald Reagan when he ran for office and he said, "Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?" Well, you had people saying definitely no to that. And the facts, the statistics bear them out. Underemployment, for example, people working involuntarily part-time is increased by 176%. Poverty has increased, and extreme poverty as well. The economy grew much slower, investment fell. So these last 4 years have been a big change from the previous 4 years. Well, Celaya only had actually 3.5 years, but there the economy had record growth, and even private investment, despite the fact that some of the investors supported the coup, did very well during that period.
Right. Honduras is very often in the news for another reason, and that is because of the high level of violence in the country. I mean, there are some sources who would tell you that it has one of the highest murder rates in the world. Is that featuring in this election at all?
I think that's definitely an issue as well, and that also really went up after the 2009 coup as part of the just deterioration of institutions and all the things that happened after the coup.
Given that level of violence and the fact that in the past votes have been bought, what are the chances of this election being free and fair?
Well, I mean, it's not free and fair. I mean, we know that already. 24 activists and candidates of the Libre Party have been killed in the last 2 years. And so, and in fact, there were 2 letters from the U.S. Congress, one from the House and one from the Senate, both in the last 6 months. The Senate letter just last month expressing serious concerns about human rights, about violence, about intimidation, of murder of these activists, candidates, union leaders, human rights workers. And so they expressed a lot of concerns. And and there's a lot of concern that the election could be stolen if it's close as well. And the last election was not legitimate at all. And really, the United States was one of the only countries in the whole hemisphere that recognized it. The OAS didn't recognize it. They wouldn't even send observers because this was an election that took place in a climate of violence and intimidation after a coup that overthrew the democratically elected government of Mel Zelaya. And of course, his wife is running in this one. And that's very important background because this has a huge international dimension. The United States government, the Obama administration, did everything they could to make that coup stick, to make the coup government survive, including trying to and successfully legitimating the elections that took place in November of 2009. And according to Zelaya himself, the U.S. was actually involved in the coup. But you didn't even need to know that. You could see after the coup all the things that the U.S. government did to help that coup government. So they want the ruling party to win. They've put $10 million into this election. We don't know exactly where it's going. The U.S. government will tell you it's just for electoral process and things like that. But they want it. They have military bases there. They're expanding those bases. Yeah. I think that's a huge part of this election.
Okay, there will be monitors at this election, international monitors.
That's right. But in the last day or two, and I hope they don't do it, the government has made some noises threatening some of the independent monitors. The OAS and the EU and other and some of these organizations that are paid by the U.S. government, they're not always that reliable in elections that are very important to Washington.
Okay, Mark, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.